forward to Easter 2016.
Good morning, Claire.
Good morning. How are you feeling?
Fine. Fine. One of these at break and at lunch. Now, you can keep them here. I've got another bottle at home. I hope that hasn't taken over in my absence.
No, but it was handy for me when you were away.
Are you implying that things are less convenient for you when I'm around?
But of course.
Yes. Well, it's great to get back to your cheek. For the last 3 weeks, Alice has been behaving like the stoic heroine faced with imminent widowhood.
You did give us a fright.
I gave myself a fright. But the doctor says I'm fit as a fiddle now. Mind you, he said the same thing to Andrew. And 24 hours later, he was dead. Well, come through. Tell me everything that's been happening in my absence. What's all this? What is going on here?
Mr. North.
Change of nomenclature. What a load of rubbish.
Apparently it has full board approval.
Yes. Yes, well, he makes that perfectly clear. Yeah. And a video telephone. I suppose he is still strutting about in that ridiculous uniform.
I'm afraid so. Mind you, on him it looks good.
Well, you will excuse me if I remain blind to its charms. I'm always very suspicious of people who need uniforms and titles. Andrew never bothered with things like that.
There were lots of things Andrew never bothered with, as you often complained. Andrew was your friend, but he was totally disorganized. It threw a considerable amount of extra work on you. At least Mr. North will take the full burden of security. He is efficient.
Oh, yes. And young. I expect he works on the principle that little boys will not be seen if they are not heard.
He's not that young, and he's hardly a little boy.
Well, it depends on whether you measure him from head to foot or from instincts to attitudes.
He's extremely popular with the female students.
Oh, great. That's just the ingredient we need. A bullying, be-uniformed, randy security officer. I'm sure Connor would appreciate the competition. Yes, well, look at all this. Well, I shall just have to sort through them, pass a lot of them over to you.
What you need is a dynamic vice principal. Mervyn's not much good.
Oh, well, you can't blame him, really. Years of ill health, and he retires this year. He'd be glad just to get through it. I suppose I'll have to start thinking about grooming my successor.
Are you still thinking about Connor?
Oh, wouldn't that be some achievement? To hand this place over to a Catholic. That would knock the stuffing out of the lot of them, especially the Catholic bishops.
Can you do it?
We'll see. I'm applying to have my term extended. Now, I will need that anyway. Otherwise, this place will go 6 months after I go.
I think you're mad. If I could retire in 2 years, I'd be counting the days.
Well, not if you thought it was your life's work you were leaving, and that it was likely to be dismantled as soon as you left.
What about the agenda for tomorrow's staff meeting?
There isn't, is there?
I'm afraid so. 2 weeks late. And Mr. North would like your permission to attend, purely as an observer, you understand.
Out of the question. I never let Andrew do it. I will certainly not let North.
I told him it was unlikely. He asked me to use my influence on you.
God, he must really fancy himself. And we have got to create and maintain as great a distance as possible between the security and educational functions of this college.
Mr. North feels that education and security are totally compatible.
Well, I can see that we're going to have to keep a very careful eye on our Mr. North. We might have some trying moments training him into our ways. It is the compatibility between integration and education that interests me. This is an integrated college of education, for goodness sake. For the first time ever, we have Catholic and Protestant teachers being educated together. Now, no one, and certainly not Mr. North, is going to be allowed to obstruct that process. We have weathered all the storms so far. Now, this centenary is the biggest hurdle in the whole 5 years. If we can hold up through that... Right. Now, this staff meeting. The agenda will have to be circulated by this afternoon.
I have no time for violence. Too many good people in Ireland, the best people of this country, give their lifeblood for something they believed in it. There are at least 10,000 good people in front of me, and I do not want one of you to shed your blood for a cause, no matter how good. But I tell you that it takes a lot of self-discipline, and self-discipline we must have, for our fight must go on.
There's no doubt these students were embarked on a non-violent campaign for legitimate reforms. As the speaker implies, they were aware of the inherent dangers, but the trouble would not be of their making. They did make comparisons between their civil rights campaign and that of the American blacks, making the same calls and using the same songs.
It's a good possibility that some stones being thrown, some people may be hurt somewhat. However, police have said they are quite prepared to get us through this obstacle. And if we all keep in very close formation on the right-hand side of the road, people throwing the stones will be on high ground on the right-hand side.
There's no doubt these students placed their trust in the police. This trust was cynically betrayed. Historians and I generally agreed the RUC deliberately led the marchers into a carefully prepared ambush. Indeed, some of the stone throwers and cudgel wielders were off-duty members of the B Specials, a force later to be totally discredited and disbanded. Colette.
It appears to me that the policemen were as much at risk from the stone throwers as the marchers were.
Ah, don't talk rot, woman. The policemen could be clearly identified by their uniforms. The stone throwers wouldn't be picking them out.
There was total chaos. Policemen were bound to be caught up in it.
Well, look, read the books. It was an RUC trap. Observed, condemned, and recorded.
Watch the final sequence.
There's the government's response to civil rights for you. So much for Mr. Brown's neutral history.
The Northern Ireland government of the day was probably the most repressive in Western Europe. They reacted viciously to any criticism.
That's what we should be doing now. Every student in this country should be on that march on Saturday week to protest for freedom. They had to do it.
Well, look what happened to them.
Yeah, well, that's what might happen to us, but that's a risk that we have to be prepared to take.
Now, I'm inclined to agree with John. If those students hadn't marched, the whole protest movement would probably have died.
But it lived, and over 2,000 people died.
The government was to blame for the deaths.
We seem to be spending more time in this march than the marchers did themselves. I don't think it's that important.
I think it's extremely important, of great significance. Here, you had students, young people, not unlike yourselves, taking on the government.
Why do you think they were so right, sir? After all, most people were opposed to them.
Most people were opposed to them in 1916. Where would Ireland be today if those men had just followed popular opinion?
Are you saying that it's justified for any small group to take up arms or campaign to wreck the system?
If the system is corrupt and repressive, yes.
The 1916 uprising eventually won popular support. What happened there, in the General Post Office in Dublin during Easter 1916, is, as far as I'm concerned, the most significant event in 20th century Irish history. You've studied it in all its aspects at great length. Can there be any of you that still doubts its importance?
It all seems to be getting confused. Now, you talked about an exhibition of pictures and essays to commemorate 1916. But now the talk is of something different. And all this emphasis has been put in this Burntollet March.
There's the title for your exhibition.
All the talk in colleges of a march, another Burntollet. And what has that got to do with the Dublin Rising?
It's got to do with us having a right to march. They did it then. Look what happened to them. But they carried on and they won.
It's a protest to assert a legitimate right that is being denied us.
But the exhibition is being permitted. Why do we have to march?
This is the centenary. We want to show that the cause survives.
I detect a desire amongst the students for something more meaningful than just an exhibition.
Here, here. We should be free to decide whether we march or not.
You're just being childish. If you were allowed to march, you wouldn't want to.
We're talking about individual freedoms. Here, you've been watching a film. People, however reluctantly, were forced to protest for the very right to protest. Why should North don a uniform and tell us how to behave? Society functions through mutual consent. We're not being consulted.
When you first mentioned it in an exhibition, you didn't think it'd be allowed. It was. And now you want to go even further. That's just provocation in my eyes.
It's a principle of getting a foot in the door and then using your shoulder to force it fully open.
Mightn't it be more responsible to use parts of our anatomy other than our feet and shoulders?
But I don't particularly want to celebrate or commemorate 1916. I think that the wrongs and evils that flowed from then on far outweigh any good it ever did.
I'm proud. Fiercely proud of my heritage.
I don't consider that has anything to do with me. In my dissertation is on press reactions to the Dublin Rising. Now, it doesn't come across as anything wonderful.
Your work does carry the stamp of a wet liberal.
Look, I, for one, have had enough of North's security restrictions. Look, every move that we make here is being monitored. Everything we do or say is being recorded. If that's the way that you want to live, go right ahead. I want freedom.
Education is supposed to turn you into rational, thinking human beings. North and the establishment treat us more like morons. It's time we all fully asserted the right to be free to make choices.
If in asserting your rights you deprive me of mine, do I then have the right to retaliate?
I trust you're being facetious. Right. We'll use the last few minutes to recap.
I'm just delivering the agenda for tomorrow's staff meeting.
I didn't see you at lunch today.
No, we had a working lunch. Cyril has so much to catch up on.
What's this? Security committee.
The boss feels Mr. North is a little too zealous. He wants this staff committee to draw up a paper outlining their ideas on our security requirements.
Does North know about this?
He hasn't been officially informed. He will receive a copy of the eventual paper.
That's one committee I'd love to sit on.
Don't tell me you two are still at each other's throats. Honestly, you're like two first-year students. I better get back. The boss is out circulating.
Really? I hope he gives me a mess.
You should be pleased. If you just sat in the office all day, you'd be the first to complain that he was out of touch.
Is this part of the new work ethic? Making you deliver these?
Oh, I'm not delivering them all. I just felt like a bit of a walk.
Well, don't go yet. How about some coffee?
No, thanks. I'm not long after some. I better get the rest of these delivered and get back.
What about dinner tonight?
Sorry, I have a prior engagement.
Tomorrow night, some night?
I don't think it's a good idea, Connor.
Well, don't bite, you know.
Actually, you do. I've seen the marks on other victims.
Well, just like your company for an evening.
You never give up, do you? Dinner, then. But it's not the start of anything else. I don't know when. I'll give you a ring.
Is that a definite promise? Now, look. Shit.
I wouldn't mind being a tutor if that's the sort of perks you have.
So, women are more trouble than they're worth.
Is she chasing after you?
Yeah, she is. She's all right. She's nice. Women just take up too much time.
You're right. June was the same when we were engaged.
Go on, when I first went out with June...
Forget it. It doesn't matter. It's all over and done with. We're still friends. Don't worry about it. Now, what's the news?
There's nothing yet. The boss is going to be very busy, you know, just being back and that.
Oh, well, I want to get things moving. I think that we should be publicizing our plans.
Would you stop that endless scribbling and don't rush? North is not going to be a pushover.
Look, if somebody doesn't challenge North, he'll screw this place up so tight that you won't be able to breathe.
But you can't afford to be reckless. It's not just North. The whole establishment are keen to play down the centenary. The boss has always been worried about it, in case it rocks the boat here.
Well, then it's up to us to push it for all we're worth. What are we going to teach kids? That a tradition that started in 1798 died in the 1980s?
I just want you to realize, in direct confrontation, you risk total defeat.
Look, there's a meeting of union delegates tomorrow. I think that there'll be a massive majority in favor of a march.
I think, for the moment, the further I stay in the background, you know, the better. North hates me. The feeling is mutual. I think it's better if the students force the issue.
Are you seeing every single person in the college?
No, seeing the married ones as well. Random checks, just making sure the file details are up to date. Now let's see, Jane Crawford, graduated 2014, 2 years teaching experience Belfast High School, returned here to specialize in history. You didn't stay out long, did you?
Well, I knew what I wanted to do before I left here at all, but 2 years is the minimum period before you can return. This must get very boring.
Well, they're not all as interesting and attractive as you are. Well, you're a very attractive woman. You got really nice legs. It's not hard to see the attraction for Mr. Mullen.
Mr. Mullen?
I've added it to your file.
Well, that's personal. It's private. Why is that on file?
Well, to me, security is a total concept. I mean, it's only a detail. Mind you, it could become a very important detail. For example, you could become Mrs. Mullen.
Silly, really. I've just gone out with him a few times, that's all.
Do you have a lot of boyfriends?
Oh, look, please.
Oh, that's just for my own information. I just thought maybe, well, if you weren't into anything too serious, maybe we could have a few drinks, a meal sometime.
Would that go on your file? What I drink? Whether I have a good appetite?
No, of course not. Look, I didn't mean to offend you. Your public life can't be private. But don't worry, these files are confidential.
Well, I'm not seriously involved with anybody.
As you engaged once the fellow student, John Bingham.
Is there anything about me that you don't know?
Yeah, one very important thing. When are you going to go out with me?
Getting quite a reputation, you know, for going out with different women. I would have thought that you'd be more interested in your work than anything else.
Well, it's a kind of extension of my work, you know. Looking after women. Oh, I'm interested in my work. My dad was a cop, his dad was a cop, uncles, cousins, the whole lot.
I'm a pacifist.
Oh, great. You know, my great-granddad, he was one of the men that started the B Specials. You know what they were?
Well, I am a history student. They were disbanded for being sectarian.
Sectarian? Look, if it hadn't been for the likes of him then and me now, you couldn't afford to be a pacifist. It's the same with the boss here. The peace he's talking about living in was created and is maintained by people like me.
Maybe you create the need for yourself. All I want to do, and all I've ever wanted to do, is teach.
All right, look, all I'm
Yes,
saying...
I know the arguments. You know, you frighten me. Ever since you've arrived, the whole atmosphere of this place has started to change.
Frighten you? Look, I'm here to protect you. The only people I want to frighten are the people who are a threat, or a potential threat to you and the community at large.
Yes, but don't you see?
I see. I see somebody I'd like to see a lot more of. Come on, you haven't answered my question yet.
I don't know.
What about tonight?
All right.
Great. I'll give you a ring when I'm finished here. Ah, Murphy, come in. Sit down. Now, about this telephone conversation of yours this morning. Tell me about this 1916 thing.
I think I was just a bit upset and overreacted. There's no more to tell.
You said John Bingham's always pushing it.
Look, I'm not a...
Look, just relax, relax. You're not telling tales. You know, your career could be on the line if something like this led to trouble.
All I want to do is complete this course and get back to teaching.
Oh, that's becoming a chant around here. Look, all I want to do is secure this place so that the students can complete their course in peace and quiet. Come on, look, we're on the same side, right? We can help each other. All I want you to do is keep me informed.
An informer?
Look, you have a duty to this college, and to yourself as well. Now, what about Mr. Mullen? Does he encourage Bingham?
He talks a lot about student protesters before. He started with just the idea of an exhibition of pictures and essays. I don't know. Sometimes Bingham puts words into his mouth.
What do you mean he's putting pressure on him, intimidating him?
No, I didn't say that. I've a teaching theory tutorial to attend.
You have enough teaching experience. You don't need tutorials in theory.
We're not allowed to miss any tutorials.
Sit down.
What?
I said sit. You leave when I'm finished with you.
Oh, sit down, sit down. I'm just circulating for a bit, Connor, getting the feel of things again. Do you mind if I sit in for 10 minutes?
Oh, no, sir. Sir, of course not.
Morning. Now, you're one short, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Kevin Murphy hasn't arrived yet.
Well, is he ill? Does anyone know?
Excuse me, sir. He's with the security officer, Mr. North.
That's another one. I was at a second-year group session earlier. 3 of them were missing. Did you ring, Connor?
Not this time. Mr. North has one stock answer. It's an important security matter.
The important matters in this college are educational matters.
I agree, sir. You're the only one with authority to tell Mr. North that. This is happening all the time now.
3 weeks' absence and we have a security coup d'etat. Well, you better start. I will look into this later.
Hello, beautiful.
Good morning, Mr. North. Mr. Brown would like to call you down.
You know, looking at you now reminds me of what I missed last night. Look, I'm sorry about that.
It's all right. You're not the first man who stood me up, but I've forgotten the other one's name.
Oh, yeah, the class is definitely there. You know, you're the only real woman in the sea of girls.
That is so poetic. The English department don't know the treasure they've lost in you.
You know, one of these days we're going to get to close quarters. Then we'll see the real you.
Mr. North, I really don't think I could cope. Won't you be exhausted with all this swimming in your sea of girls?
Oh, I have a lot of stamina, as you may soon find out.
I can barely wait. In the meantime, Mr. Brown would like to see you.
No, look, tell him to phone down. You can talk all he likes. There's nobody here. I mean, what is the point of him having all this complex equipment if he's not prepared to take advantage of it?
I imagine his answer would be that he never asked for it all in the first place.
God, I don't know. How are we going to get him into the 21st century?
Can I tell Mr. Brown you'll be down, sir?
Look, you tell him, yes, I'm on my way. Ah, did you say come in, Director?
No. But given the chance, I would have. Yes, you may smoke, in spite of the risks to your health and the discomfort to me. Do sit down. Would you like some coffee?
It's on the way, I told Claire.
I see. Will I be getting any?
Oh, I have 2 cups, sir.
Well, I am a very busy man, Mr. North, so I will not waste any time.
Well, just bear in mind your recent illness. I should try and avoid strain if I were you.
Yesterday morning, I discovered students missing from tutorials. Later on, it transpired that they were off being interrogated by you.
Interrogated? That's a very strong term.
Apparently, this has become quite an established practice in my absence. This is a college of education. Tutorials are vitally important, and students are not permitted to miss them. At this afternoon's staff meeting, which you will not be allowed to attend, incidentally, I shall instruct tutors that students are not to be excused on the grounds of an interview with you, nor will you interview students without my permission.
I sought the permission I wanted from the board. I have their written ratification.
Well, you seem to have consulted the board quite a bit in my absence.
Well, in the absence of an effective vice principal, I had to. I convinced them of the pressing need to step up security. I mean, as far as we were concerned, you were on your last legs.
Well, I shall show you and the board that my last legs are going to last for quite a while.
Look, if you're thinking of using them against me, it won't work. I'll win.
When you first arrived here, I made it very clear that I run this college. You have used the occasion of my illness to press matters with the board. Weak men, who you have probably half frightened to death. Very well, I shall reverse that trend. I will ensure that this remains a college of education, a center of learning. It is not, nor will it become, a military staff college, not as long as I am here, certainly.
Well, your recent illness suggests that you mightn't be here that much longer.
I shall be here long enough to see you put in your place. This college is at the very heart of integrated education. It is a center not only of learning together, but of living together. And in my view, the future of this whole community is invested in that concept.
Look, that doesn't concern me, Cyril. You can do what you want. Just leave security to me.
But education is security. Every opponent this place ever had perked up the day that you donned that uniform and began to tighten up security. You have confirmed all their worst fears. For 5 years, we have confounded them, despite the fears of the Catholic Church and all the others. Acceptance is coming. Now, I am damned if I'm going to let you destroy all that.
Who's talking about destroying anything? I'm here to protect and preserve it.
But your methods are sowing the seeds of mistrust and intolerance. The price that we pay for our past is fear, and you are creating that here.
That's rubbish. Look, if people can't see what's in their own best interest, then it has to be imposed on them. We're not prepared to submit ourselves to the wreck just to disprove your woolly-minded theories. And quite frankly, I'm just not interested in your crusade for integrated education. Nor do I give a damn about the finer feelings of the Catholic bishops or anybody else. Come in!
Nothing else, sir?
No. In future, you will not provide coffee except at my request.
Very good, sir.
Nor, when you knock at my door, will you enter unless I bid you to do so.
Of course not. I'm sorry, sir.
You know, I'm not impressed. Now, if you'd have said to her in future that she must call you director, now that would have impressed me.
Oh, dear, I'm terribly sorry. I must confess also that my wife called me Cyril this morning. Silly woman. You'll just have to give us time to get used to the way that you are going to run this country.
I hear you've applied to have your term extended.
How the hell did you know that?
I think it only fair to point out that unless relations between us improve, that I'll oppose it. And as you now know, the board do listen to me.
They obviously talk to you as well.
Did you know that Connor Mullen is planning to celebrate the centenary of the 1916 rebellion?
He feels that it is a significant event, and as a history tutor...
As a Republican?
He feels that it should be marked. I don't think that what he's planning amounts to subversion.
Well, according to you, the original rebellion wouldn't have amounted to subversion.
Many people use the word rising as distinct from rebellion.
Many people use the word execute instead of murder. Which do you use? Now, your father, was he executed or was he murdered?
What do you know about my father?
Security college. Seen all the videos. And his name's on the RUC Roll of Honor. Brave man. Fought and died for what he cherished.
My father didn't die for what he cherished. I was part of what he cherished. And after his death, we had to find our own way through. I was only 17. They leave things out at Security College. My father didn't want to die. None of those men did as individuals. They all hoped that it would be the man in front or the man behind. And as the odds shortened, they began to hate each other. My father was consumed by hatred. Hatred based on the fear that he was going to be killed. Later on, I discovered that that destroyed his life, ate away at him. At home, he was always edgy, short-tempered. Nothing was said, everything was shouted loudly, angrily, bitterly. And when he died, my mother took over, all based on hatred.
Okay, so even if you're right...
Even if I'm right, for Christ's sake, he was my father. She was my mother.
All right, so who's responsible then? Who caused it all? Who made them hit?
You.
Me?
Your sort. The people who scorned toleration, who could have ended it all 2,000 deaths earlier. Let Connor celebrate 1916 if that's what he wants to do. What does it matter now? It's 100 years over 100 years gone.
You know, you're a gift to the Mullins of this country. Simple-minded, idealistic fool. All right, let them celebrate the centenary. Like they celebrated the 50th anniversary. 1966, that's when the last lot started.
But this is the talk of your security college lecturers. Men who are still consumed by the hatred that destroyed my father. Now, I know, because I lived through it.
So was my dad, right? He was a policeman. Still is. We've always been happy enough.
I suppose we all know our own bits of the truth.
Oh, there's only one truth. It's there if you want to accept it. Only it doesn't fit in with your idea of what happened to your father, or your idea of what you can do about it.
Look, Lenny, I am a good bit older than you. They were different times, my childhood and youth, and yours.
Look, this celebration of Mullins just isn't on. You fought really hard for his appointment, didn't you?
And I fought hard for the appointment of a history lecturer, pure and simple, not an undercover man for the appointments board.
I can think of many words for Mullen, but pure and simple wouldn't be among them. You know, if I'd have been here, you wouldn't have won.
It would have been more difficult, granted.
Oh, no, you wouldn't have won, pure and simple.
Sectarianism has no place in this college, not whilst I am in charge.
Mullen is unacceptable because of his family background, not merely because he's a Catholic.
Oh, not merely, but also. And who's next?
You know, you surprise me, sir. I mean, liberalism is one thing. Lunacy is another. It was pointed out to you. There was a chance that one of Mullen's relatives had murdered your old fella.
Not that old smear. I mean, there was flimsy evidence of a kind. Even if it was true, he was a distant relation that happened years before Connor was even born.
Look, when somebody's born into a tradition, that tradition might as well be 1,000,000 years old. What do you know about John Bingham?
Well, what I know about any student, what's in his file.
Well, my information is he's a troublemaker.
Your information? Students spying on each other.
What makes you think it's only each other they spy on?
Oh, you disappoint me, North. I thought that sort of thing would have been beneath your sense of professionalism.
Look, intelligence gathering is an essential part of any security operation. Mind you, if I had the equipment I needed, I could scale down the student involvement. But I'm getting there. The board are bending.
Well, I will straighten them up again. Once I point out that your methods are almost certain to lead to the kind of violence and subversion that you are supposed to prevent. And I am warning you now. I'll fight.
You just watch me over this next fortnight. I'm gonna screw things up here so tight they'll offer me nuclear weapons if I need them.
Oh, June, I have the tape I promised you.
All right. I'll catch you. Thanks.
You can listen to it tonight.
Oh, sorry, Connor, not tonight.
I thought we had a date.
It was a maybe. I've got an appointment.
Is that what he calls it? Don't look so damned innocent, I heard.
Look, you don't own me. Lenny just...
Lenny! Mr. North, do me that courtesy. You think that bastard cares about you, do you? Huh? You're just a way of keeping tabs on me.
You flatter yourself. Never even mentioned your name.
You stupid bitch, she's using you.
I can't take any more of your jealousy. You're driving me crazy.
Yeah, I must be if that's what you're turning to.
I'm going.
June, come on.
It's over, Connor. Sorry. Still like you. You're too demanding. I can't even talk to another man. You start to grill me. I can't be like that.
I love you, Jane. Come over tonight. We'll talk, please.
Don't love me, Connor. You just hate Lenny.
That's him. That's what I'm telling you. He's chasing every woman in this college. You mean nothing to him. Nothing.
Maybe I mean more to him than you think. Anyway, I'm not seeing him tonight.
You're a liar.
Don't you dare call me that.
I'll find out. Don't you worry. And if it is with him, you can forget about passing his course. Now go on. Go get ready for your appointment.
Silence is the price we've paid for integration. Every time we have opened our mouths, we've been told to be quiet or this college will have to close. Well, we have integration. And I believe 5 years of silence is sufficient. When the army was returned to barracks, the people were duped. Well, now we have a black uniformed fascist militia that's worse than any army. Well, we're going to march on Saturday. Hear, hear. We're going to rekindle the spirit of Burntallet when the students were the front wheels of the van of protest.
What he feels this is going to achieve. I mean, who wants it all to start up again?
Mr. Speaker, with Miss Brogan allowed democracy to function, I appeal to every delegate here. Let's assert the right to protest.
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, I was under the impression we were talking about a commemoration march, not a protest march.
All right, Murphy, you commemorate, I'll protest.
It's silly. You're just deliberately pushing your luck.
Look, we have got to break out of the stranglehold of security. Hear, hear. Look, North and his fascist thugs only have the power if they remain unchallenged. Now, our achievement will be as significant as the original Burntallet achievement.
All you'll achieve is tighter security than ever.
They can't afford to do that. That's the sort of mistake they made in the 1960s and 70s.
Don't talk dangerous rubbish. Most people in this country over the age of 30 are so frightened of what went on before that helped them to batter us into the ground. The North is nobody's fool. This proposed march will play right into his hands. When it's over, Mr. Brown will be out.
It's about time, too.
And every inch of this place will be under surveillance night and day. Every lecture will be monitored. Everybody will be afraid to express any opinion.
Speak for yourself. Look, there are some of us North doesn't frighten. Come on, let's get the show on the road. Have the vote. A vote for freedom of expression.
You sound like a cracked recording of a political speech in the 1970s.
What do you mean, cracked?
Whatever you like.
Look, you'll be cracked if I put your head through that bloody wall.
You'd what? To make me laugh.
Kevin, ignore
Oh, come on, cool it there. We don't have to start fighting amongst ourselves. Now, it's a straightforward vote. For a march or not. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? Right, I declare the vote carried. We'll march on Saturday!
See those two there, Colette and Kevin, scared stiff.
So am I.
You, why?
Because of what's going on, because of what you're up to.
Me? You've just seen it, haven't you? A massive majority in favour of a march. Just what we want, eh? The Burntallet spirit. And don't forget, we've got Connor on our side. Shoulder to shoulder at the barricades.
I hope you remember there were a few people who got their skulls split at Burntallet.
What's wrong with you? Oh, I know. You're afraid of me and Connor kicking your Lenny?
You're so bloody funny. I've been going through the old newspapers in the 1970s. Old Connor makes it all seem so cut and dried. It was terrible, John. It was awful. These people, these men, women, and children, they were just being slaughtered. They were being murdered in their beds, bombed, burnt to death.
Stop it. Pull yourself together. Look, it's not going to be like that. It is never going to be like that again.
You say there's going to be a new rebellion? Maybe this is going to be the General Post Office this time?
Yeah. And this time, maybe we'll handle it right.
You keep telling me you run this place. Well, let me see you doing it. Look, I want him stopped.
Back a week yesterday, you know, we've had a row almost every other day. Tell me, Claire, what do you have to do to make that man see sense?
It's simple. Talk sense.
Hey, look, what does it say on your badge there?
Why, Mr. North, how could you have risen to your eminent position without being able to read?
What a cruel trick fate has played on you. Giving you a sense of humor and then lumbering you with old Laugh-A-Minute CB.
At least he's reliable, Mr. North, sir.
Oh, no, it's not sir, it's director. Look, I promoted you. And a little gratitude wouldn't go amiss. And in future, you don't call Mr. Brown, sir, either.
I see. What do I call him? Director?
Oh, shit.
I don't think he'd like that. Could he not just be Mr. Brown, or could you not make yourself a field marshal or something?
You know, it's amazing. It's amazing how women always turn everything to their own advantage. Look, I stand you up last week through no fault of my own, and now you think that entitles you to make jokes at my expense. I can say the only way to tame you is to make it up to you. Hey, what about coming up for a drink later on, about 5:30?
Only if it's a pre-dinner drink. And as I'm not dressed to go out, dinner will have to be at my place.
God, I love fast women. You know, I think you're about the nicest special assistant I've ever appointed.
Let's hope you're as good as you look. I'd hate to think you'd need special assistance.
Come in, Colette. Have you seen them?
Yes.
You know what to do?
We don't have much time.
No.
Mr. Brown, I don't want to be responsible for anybody getting hurt. I mean...
I know what you mean, and I agree with you. No one will be hurt. I'll see to that. The really important thing is that we are doing this because we know that we have to, because we know it's right.
I just wish now somebody would have the sense to call the whole thing off.
Well, I shall be trying right up to the very last minute.
I'm sorry about you and Mr. Mullen.
Well, as I said the other night, it's disappointment more than anger. I had high hopes for Connor. He'd come such a long way since his own wild student days. Still, the stakes are too high to indulge in sentiment. It's you and me now.
I want a complete rundown of Miss Claire Williams.
Very good, Director. Miss Williams left by gate B at exactly 5:48. She was driving her own car. Mr. Connor Mullen was in the front passenger seat.
Who's in the passenger seat?
Mr. Connor Mullen, Director.
That bastard.
Pardon, Director? Will that be all, Director?
Yes, that'll be all.
Just a minute.
What on earth are you up to?
Nothing, I was just lying down for a while.
Lying down? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just a bit tired, that's all.
Yeah. You haven't got a secret lover by any chance, huh?
Yeah, he's under the bed.
I think the women in this college are all beginning to crack up. I just took June in with me, howling.
What's wrong with it?
Oh, it's her and Lenny, and Mr. North. Apparently they had a big row last night. He chased her. She says she can't bear it.
Poor June. She's always plunging in and nothing ever lasts. They're not chasing her, she's chasing them. What did you say to her?
When I could get a word in between sobs, I advised her to put on a brave face.
You really are inspired, Kevin, when it comes to complex emotional
I
problems.
also told her to make a play for somebody else. Jealousy. That'll bring Field Marshal Heartbreaker to his knees.
I wonder, will anything ever bring him to his knees?
What do you mean?
Oh, nothing. Nothing at all.
Hello, beautiful. All alone?
Yes, all alone.
Well, I've been at it all day. No peace for the wicked, eh? Hey, why don't you come over?
After last night?
Last night? Come on, distant memory, sweetheart.
Well, not for me, it isn't.
Look, come on, it was my fault. I lost my temper. Look, why don't you give me 15 minutes and come across, eh?
I was going to have an early night.
Well, we can both have an early night. Look, I want to be able to say that I'm sorry, but I want to be able to do it properly.
Okay, but I'm a bit upset, so be nice.
Of course I will. 15 minutes, eh?
Okay. 15 minutes.
Yes, Director.
I want to call out search.
Send the unit to Mr. Connor Mullen's room. I want it turned upside down.
Very good, Director. What are we looking for?
Tape a tip-off saying there's subversive material in his room. And grab some of them students from last week's meeting, especially the one who ran it. Hold them all till about 4 o'clock and then let them go. Mullen's to be put in isolation, no calls. If he asks for me, I'm not available under any circumstances. If he's not back tonight, grab him first thing in the morning.
Very good, Director. Is he to be treated as a gentleman lecturer?
He's to be treated as a security suspect. He shouldn't be hard to rouse or contain.
Very good, Director. We'll see to it. Good night, sir.
Good night. No, that's fine.
What was all that about?
Security check last night. Following a tip-off. Everything has to be reported to me.
Everybody's afraid of you, aren't they? Not to live with you, Lenny.
Oh, really?
Oh, what if he asked me? Connor Mullen asked me. He's in love with me. You know what he said to me once? He said if I went out with you, he'd see to that I failed my course.
What, he threatened you?
I don't think he really meant it.
Now, listen. Are you saying that Connor Mullen said that if you went out with me, he would see to it that you failed your course? Is that what he said?
Lenny, I don't think we should do...
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Hey, come on. Look, hurry up. Got a busy day ahead of me.
I feel safe with you, Lenny. I think I'll just stay on here a bit longer.
Great. I'll nip back and have you for lunch. Give me that piece of bacon. You realize some poor pig gave his life so that you could have that?
Good morning, Claire.
Good morning, sir.
I see the posters appearing for this damn march. I thought Connor had seen sense. Give him a ring. Get him down here for me.
There was an incident last night. Connor's room was searched. From what I hear, it got rough. The room is a mess and he's knocked about.
Well, you better get hold of the duty security officer for last night and put him through. We'll find out exactly what happened. Connor is being rather irresponsible. You look a bit glum.
There isn't a great deal to be happy about, is there? With lecturers being beaten up and not knowing what's going to happen next.
There is a discernible increase in tension.
I hate violence.
But so do I. The lucky people are the ones who can avoid being involved. Sometimes one is forced into a position.
Come in. Hello. Sit down. You are?
Colette Brogan, sir.
No, it's director, not sir. Ah, you're one of Mr. Mullen's lot. Right, what can I do for you?
I'm very worried about my history course, Director. I feel Mr. Mullen is leading us on, giving us a very prejudiced and one-sided view. I've complained to Mr. Brown, but well, I don't think he...
Well, it really is his province. Did he say anything about Mr. Mullen?
I don't like carrying tales, sir, Director, but I think he was covering up for him a bit.
Did Mr. Brown say that he was aware of the content or the general subversive emphasis of Mr. Mullen's teaching?
No, he just seemed to trust Mr. Mullen's own judgment.
Well, it's a very serious problem, Colette. Actually, it's one of which I'm not totally unaware. Look, would you be prepared to file a tape outlining your complaint against Mr. Mullen?
Yes, sir, Director.
Why don't you just call me Mr. North? Well, we could do it now. Come on over to the city. You all right?
Could I have a glass of water, please?
Sure.
According to the duty officer, North knew nothing about it. In fact, he was quite annoyed when he heard.
Do you believe that?
Now, my position here would be untenable if I didn't. Anyway, they are prepared to send the tip-off tape across. They say that you were abusive and uncooperative.
It's a great way to administer education.
It could be a lot worse after Saturday.
I didn't decide on the march. The students did. I feel obliged now.
The hook is of your own making, and you must get yourself off it. Be your own man. You have done everything but bottle the Burnt-Tollett spirit. You are a history tutor, an educator, not a gang leader. March is madness, and you know it. I want you to call it off.
What about my credibility with the students?
Your credibility as what? Where has all this renewed militancy come from? Ever since North's arrival, you have reverted to a role I thought that you'd shed during your student days here.
It's simple, Director. North has made me feel ashamed. I've suddenly become aware of how much I've had to accept to get where I am, how much of myself and my past I've rejected. I've had to make all the compromises, not North. Well, I've decided to fess up to my history and live with the implications of it.
Your students and their pupils have to do that. They have got to be witnesses to history, but we must be careful not to lead the witnesses. That is the responsibility that history has imposed on the educators.
I would never have been appointed here without you. You're afraid that if I step out of line, your influence will be gone.
Fighting for your appointment was merely living up to the implications of what I believe, and I did it for this college.
You didn't object to my intentions to mark this centenary. You're just acting under pressure from North.
Oh, you have moved a long way from the original plans you outlined to me. Now, I supported what you presented as an educative project.
Marching to show people they should be free, to have the right to do so, is educative.
But your plans will lead to greater restrictions than ever.
This society is more oppressive now than any other period in its history.
Granted. And never has repression been so widely accepted. And do you know why?
Because people like me have bitten our tongues to the god of neutral history. If I want to work, I have to accept a version of history, a concept of education in which I do not really believe and for which I have no responsibility.
Because people like you of 20 or 30 years ago battered this country into submission. North and yourself are political dinosaurs. Now, this integrated college had to be imposed on people in the way that you'd bump the heads of two fools together. Now, this weekend and the following week is the crunch period as far as this college is concerned. You were one of the people I was looking to for support. Our choice now is between being lodgers in a military complex or educators in an educational complex. You realize that North has arms, I hope, and that given the excuse, he'll use them. You can forget your old history films. Today's security forces are not going to stand and be pelted with stones and bottles for hours. You really don't have a choice, Connor. Look, North has impressed on his chiefs and on the board the extreme seriousness of the situation that he faces here. He will receive plaudits for having contained it and increased powers to ensure that it never happens again, and the casualty will be this college. And damn it, Connor, that is infinitely more important to me than North and you.
Well, then why put the onus on me? Why just speaking to North? His thugs beat me up last night. Address yourself to that little injustice, Mr. Bryan.
I have been given a fortnight to save an almost impossible situation. Call this march off and let me deal with North. If this place remains quiet, then I can protest strongly, both to the security chiefs and to the board, about North's provocative tactics. My whole case against him is built upon the fact that he is deliberately trying to provoke a reaction.
The students themselves voted for a march.
Now, don't play games with me, Connor. You engineered it, and you are the single individual who can dissuade them.
I don't really think I even want to try.
Yes?
I'm sorry to disturb you, sir. Mrs. Black rang and said to tell you immediately that the parcel is in the post.
Right. Thank you, Claire. Give Mr. North a ring in 10 minutes. Tell him that Connor is with me, and we want to see him immediately. And come straight back to me if you've any trouble getting hold of him.
Very good, sir. 10 minutes.
I will make a public statement condemning Miss March and threatening expulsion for any students participating. I will give my full public support to Mr. North on any measures that he may have to take to contain the situation. He will call an emergency meeting of the appointments board. He will propose your expulsion. I will second it, and you will never work on education again.
That's some bloody setup. How did this country get itself into this mess?
That is an easy question. How does it extricate itself? Now, there is a question.
Look, Lord, this is silly. Will you not let me call the doctor, please?
No. But please, will you just stop fussing?
But I'm worried about you. Look at the state you're in.
All right. Leave me alone. Go away, Kevin. Will you please go away?
Come in. Sit down. Name?
John Bingham, Director.
Sit still, Danny. Now, according to this, you're a fanatical Protestant Republican and a right wee bollocks.
I've been proposed for the committee of the New Communities College Easter 2016 Club.
I suppose that entitles you to free burial in any Republican plot in the country.
When I die, I'll insist on it.
You know, you've been reported to me 4 times this week.
Well, I told you I'm good. Sometimes I even believe it myself. I hear Mullen got done last night.
Yeah, security check. I didn't know anything about it. By this time next week, I'm going to have him out, and I'll be screwing my own lid onto this place.
I'm sorry to disturb you, Mr. North. Mr. Brown would like to see you immediately. He has Mr. Mullen with him.
I'll be right down.
What's going to happen at this march?
We're going to lament them. They'll be sorry to bother.
What if they just march peacefully?
Well, then you and a few others will be carrying some stones. And if it doesn't look like getting nasty, then you throw the stones.
What about me? I don't fancy a fractured skull.
Look, you just make sure you get offside quickish. You better stay here till I get back, right? Don't let anybody know you're here. It's against regulations.
Don't worry, I don't even know I'm here myself.
Lenny, what I did last night was inexcusable, and I'm truly sorry.
No, just one of your practical jokes. It annoyed me for a while. I got over it. I just slept with one of the students. Matter of fact, she's still in bed.
Well, I'm glad I didn't entirely spoil your evening.
No. These are for you.
Really? In the circumstances?
Oh, for you in any circumstances.
They're beautiful, Lenny. Thank you.
As Director of Security. And that's your going away present.
Ah, Lenny. Sit down. We have a proposition for you.
Well, do I get 3 guesses?
O'Connor and I have been talking. I think we found a formula to avoid trouble on Saturday.
Oh, well, that'll spare the students and Mullen.
Would you like to put it to him, Connor? Your plan?
There's a great deal of militancy amongst the student body.
Created by you.
Quite independently of me, certain students were planning to mark the 1916 centenary.
Republican rabble-rousers.
I saw the grave dangers in that. I tried to take over, lead them away from any course of action liable to lead to confrontation.
Well, my information suggests different.
I'd like to finish.
Oh, I'd like to see you finished.
The march was not my idea. My original suggestion was for an exhibition of pictures and essays relating to the Rising.
The rebellion.
You have your term, I have mine.
Rebellion is the correct term.
Look, Lenny, What Connor is proposing is a token march within the confines of the college grounds.
We will assemble on the sports ground. Go up round the back, down to the front gates. It'll be a tightly disciplined march. You have my personal assurance there'll be no trouble.
Oh, I see. Only token trouble. I suppose this is another one of your harebrained liberal compromises. Look, there'll be no march, token or otherwise.
That's it. I made my gesture. The march goes on.
Your gesture? Your gesture should have been to forbid the march and condemn all those who do.
Oh, come on, Lenny. You can't ask a man to eat dirt.
His own diet's a matter for himself.
Even if Connor refuses to march, the militants will go ahead and there will be trouble.
Look, if that's all you have.
For goodness sake, North, be reasonable.
Look, I have the power. I don't have to be.
We'll see about that. It appears it's still only the one side in this community that's expected to compromise.
Don't talk nonsense.
You think I'm an idiot?
Of course he does.
It was never on. You knew it. I thought he was devious, but you...
What hell sort of country are you two trying to create? Do you want an explosion?
If that's the only way to maintain security, yes.
Well, I will blame you two. Two throwbacks!
It's a bomb. It's a bloody bomb.
Did you hear that? Did you? The whole place is sealed off. We can't move. What the hell's going on?
Two people have been killed. Students, probably.
No. That's impossible. We... Do you know who they are?
He died instantly, she died in the fire. It's horrible.
It's a bad business.
A group called the Lemmings have claimed responsibility.
Really, I missed the news this morning.
You mentioned them to me once. I remember. It was a Captain Black who made the call. I wonder, was it his wife who sent you the parcel, the one that never arrived? Or maybe it did.
Look, Claire, what happened here just over a week ago was a terrible, terrible tragedy. We must all redouble our efforts to make this college succeed. That now becomes even more important.
I don't think that even your life's work, even this college, is worth the lives of two innocent young people.
Innocent? Well, according to this, one of them was holding a bomb. Claire, why don't you bring in some coffee?
I'd rather not join you if it's all the same to you. I'll bring you one.
No. No.
I've been your eyes and ears for years. I pick up things almost automatically now.
I see that North has resigned. Mullen's suspension has been extended for another week. I have a bleeper with me. Give me a buzz as soon as the new security man arrives. We won't make the mistake we made with North. Don't offer him coffee and don't encourage him to talk by answering his questions. What's this?
My resignation. I'm sorry.
We've been here from the beginning. We built this place up together.
The place we built up was destroyed in an explosion last week.
Claire, listen.
No. I don't want to listen. Please, Mr. Brown, I know why. I know.
That office should have been empty. To survive in a madhouse, it's sometimes necessary to adopt the methods of the insane. Sit down, please. Now, Mr. Murphy and... Is Miss Brogan not here, Mr. Murphy?
No, sir, she's ill. Shock. The doctor's ordered her to rest.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. Now, Mr. Murphy and Miss Brogan, when she returns, will be joining this group for the time being. Mr. Mullen is indisposed, so I shall be looking after things until he returns. Or whatever. Now, this morning I would like to discuss the fall of Stormont. The British Prime Minister of the time was Mr. Edward Heath, leading a Conservative government. The Unionist Prime Minister of the government of Northern Ireland was Mr. Brian Faulkner. Now, we want to consider the series of events leading up to the imposition of direct rule from Westminster. I shall give an overview of these events, and then I shall allocate special areas for you to research on your own. So let us start with a brief recap of the events that led to the forming of the government of Northern Ireland in the first place. You have covered the moves towards Home Rule leading up to the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. So let us start today with the rising in Dublin in 1916.
Programmes on BBC One for Wednesday evening begin with a family film at 7:30. Zebra in the...
My men are ready to leave.